Chief.
Sorry?
I'm just always happy to be here.
Right, it's 11 o'clock, call Personnel Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Fred Mogul.
Here.
Janet Barnett will be absent. Rick Weinhocker.
Here.
Ron Stanko.
Here.
And Bill Jenks.
Here?
Okay, public comment. Hearing none, we'll move on to the second to last item. First Responders Wellness Program. Kristi?
Hi.
Hi.
I have your talking points just for easy.
Lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we met in January?
December.
A long time. Objectives achieved. We began on-site yoga at the fire station every Monday morning at 10 a.m. A space reconfiguration with the police has begun, and safety net cooking initiative has also begun.
Bill.
And we will continue that throughout the fall. Our new on-site initiatives, we're beginning with Restore on Mondays at 10 a.m. and that will be consistent throughout the weeks, the same offering, the same teacher. A Calm Collective with Eureka, managing thoughts, educating participants about stress. Tactical yoga, which focuses on balance, sight, alignment, strength, and flexibility. Resiliency, spine and back health, hips, knees, joint. Enhancing resilience through repetition. And we're also opening up a family practice to first responders, family, and children, and they're also welcome. So we are going to begin this next week. Mondays at 10 a.m. We'll continue Tuesdays and Wednesdays is a new ad at 10 a.m. covering each platoon with consistency. At the fire station, police are always welcome. And Wednesday evenings, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. class, we'll be offering the same food. And that is more of a hands-on program than we have done thus far. I assume there's questions. We're also going to introduce a pilot study this coming fall.
Can I ask, do you reschedule the yoga classes if, like, the police get, or the fire gets called in?
Yeah, so
They get
we've
called out.
been at the fire station when they get a call a few times. We remain. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. We reschedule if we're able to.
Okay.
In the past. And the Wednesday evenings, they won't be called over this time. We're guaranteed that they'll be there if they want to be. It's up to them, but they won't be on a shift. But we've had shifts covered, if there's calls, yeah. And that's why it's always open to another place and being kind of fluid. In the pilot study we're going to introduce this fall. It will be anonymous, and we would like to start gauging simple measures, basic information. It's kind of a checklist inventory. And the woman leading it will be, she has a degree in psychology and neuropsychology, and we're addressing depression and anxiety and post-traumatic during that.
Did you do a study on them, like, in the beginning, how they felt at the beginning? As to, like, prior?
You want to speak to that, or do you want me to?
I think we both can. So Alyssa, Kristi, and I actually had a conference call. Was that last week? Mm-hmm. Last week about that. There are two ways to do it, obviously before and after, but knowing that this was very new, knowing that there was going to be a lot of unknowns, and I don't know you, I have no relationship with you, you're telling me this is anonymous, but how do I know that it really is? On top of, because there was not a clinical psychologist involved at that point, who is the only person, because of HIPAA, could actually do that type of confidential study and keep it confidential, we did not. So once Alyssa's on board, we kind of talked through again different ways to do that, and which makes the most sense. She's gonna take the lead with that, but I mean, we need to do something to show metrics, and it's gonna be more along the lines of, can you rate what your perceived level of depression, anxiety, PTSD, sleep issues, health issues at this point, and then do a follow-up at the end of the September session and see where that takes us.
To see if there's positive change.
Yeah.
And then we'll continue. The first 6 months that I spent time there, it's more intel. It was learning humans, how they function, interaction of departments.
When you figure out, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it. Yeah, it's been incredibly eye-opening. Steve mentioned this is no small feat, and these are humans that are resilient beyond. And I don't know if you've ever experienced when they get a call when you're in the middle of something, to your point, but the calmness they get up and they freaking walk out and you don't know what they're facing. But then to sit with your leg crossed the opposite way to be uncomfortable. I mean, that's not what most of us do. And true transparency, when I saw their secondary traumatic response, and it's work related, it's secondary exposure to extremely or traumatically stressful events, and they develop problems due to that exposure. And so this is what, after 6 months, and that's only a blink of an eye, spending some time, and it's spending time. So that's what the Mondays at 10 a.m. were. It's getting to know humans. And then the passing of Derek happened, and that's just a whole different level. And spending time, I don't know, 2+ hours watching human beings in a building, that is emotional well-being, that is social well-being, that is culture. And so that is why we are taking this direction, and the buy-in and the support internally. Like every time I send an email internally, 100% open. The click rate is open, and the subject lines are resilience, balanced response, coming back into being, like, I'm playing with it, but it's on purpose and it's deliberate, and that's what's getting clicked on. So to me, that speaks volumes that there's an interest in it. And so this program this summer will then turn into what we're gonna do this fall, and it'll just keep evolving like we hope.
So what's the percentage of attendance on we have for the fire and police, the total number available and the number that participate?
Thus far or moving forward?
Well, as of right now, how's it working? It looks like it should be working really great.
Again, it's subject to call. We had a lull. When we have it at 10 a.m. at the fire station, they attend if they're in the building. We've had police when they've had the ability come up, which was really kind of cool to see when two departments are interacting and it's not at something traumatic or something bad. And that's part of it, the safety net cooking. So the attendants, the police, they had an incredibly well-attended breakfast.
That breakfast, yeah, was very well attended.
I mean,
Donuts and do
no,
No,
actually,
actually-
no,
I knew that
actually,
was gonna
throw down on that one, no.
It was not all healthy food, but I mean, I have a photo on my phone somewhere of Sergeant
Yeah.
Quinter cooking eggs on a hot plate over on the PD side. Like to see them come together and buy in, and you know, the fire department when they did the dinner up at the fire station, you know, cutting everything up and putting it in the crock pot.
Yeah, beauty.
It was fun.
And it smells like home. It's not home, they're never gonna relax like it's home, but, and then there's a guaranteed meal. So the attendance, thus far, I mean, nobody said no. If they can, they do. And we're trying to make it easier. It's hard to ask anyone to come in off time and with as much overtime as they put in. No. It's just too big of an ask. And it's our responsibility, in my personal opinion, just to make it easy, make it attainable, until it becomes a habit and there's a notice.
So you're not seeing a lot of off-duty people coming into the building?
I would suspect, again, given all the overtime that they
Yeah.
work and the fact that they're away from their family, that's part of the initiative of family practice. That will evolve moving forward, being in the park and everything else. I mean, we have scads of ideas, we have to get there, we also have to get the buy-in, and people have to start, human beings have to start feeling better. And we've asked a tremendous amount of time from these human beings for a very long time, so that's why it's integrating in. You know, overtime isn't always, time is precious, period.
Kristi, refresh my memory. I'd asked this before, anyone else in the county doing this
I
type
don't
of
know.
program?
That we're aware of, no.
Yeah, that's, I
I
think
don't
this
believe
is
so.
very dynamic, you know, and extremely impressive, and, you know, once again, chalk one up for Wyomissing to be the forefront of it.
Chief Holmes, do you wanna speak about your experience?
It's, you know, to support some of what Kristi had explained there, in the beginning, it was really taking down and removing the barrier of, you know, bringing yoga into the firehouse. It was kind of an unforeseen or different type of environment to bring something like that into. So there was a little bit of standoffishness in the beginning, but once with a small group and having the 3 people on duty at a time with one instructor, the barrier kind of went away real quick, because we're comfortable with our shift mates and the people that we work with, and we joke around, and that kind of broke more of the ice and made it where, hey, we're doing yoga, but we're not really doing yoga. We're using movements that we typically do throughout the day on incidents around the firehouse, but using the yoga techniques to make it better and work our bodies to relax those muscles. The biggest feat was that wall, that understanding that this was something we were going to have to take time to learn and become comfortable with, as well as the instructors that are coming in. But once we got to know the instructors, it became family. We welcome them with an open heart, just like we do going home to our own families, or even new members coming into the department. They really became part of our intricate family there. So that was a blessing in disguise, especially with some of the things that we've endured so far here in 2024. Overall, I would say it's a positive experience, gaining more and more support as we continue to move forward. The difference between some of the topics that we've done and incorporating some other instructors into it has helped to build the intrigue and interest into the program. And I really think that most of the staff aren't realizing how what we're doing is having a long-term effect, as well as the short-term. Hey, I feel better after I do the yoga, feel more refreshed. Taking some of the skills and using them at nighttime to relax yourself after a stressful call has been beneficial, but I don't think we've really seen the long-term effects of what this is going to do for us yet. I'm interested in what this study is going to show. I think with a self-reporting type of study and being anonymous, people are going to be a little bit more upfront with what they think and how they feel. So we ought to get some good metrics back that we can use to refine the program even more.
Bob, I'd like to ask a question. I'm not sure I understand number 4, the schedule for the end of the year, grant funding was received from the foundation. If you could refresh my memory, are you funded now and we got an additional $25,000?
Yeah, so the borough budgeted $30,000 for the 2024 budget, and then we applied for a $25,000 grant in March, April through the Wyomissing Foundation, and found out about a month later we were funded.
So how long will that take you?
I mean, that depends. We're trying to be very thoughtful about how we use the money. Currently, we should be able to make it likely through the end of 2024 with the $30,000 the borough had initially budgeted. My likely request going into the 25 budget calendar would be take the $25,000 from the Wyomissing Foundation and maybe match it with another 15 to 20 from the borough for the 25 calendar year. I mean, some of the consultants that Kristi is bringing on, like Eureka, like Alyssa, I mean, you're talking people that could charge hundreds of dollars an hour for their services, that are willing to do it for much less because they understand the need, and there's actually a true desire for them, those consultants wanting to help because they see where this is lacking in emergency services.
We looked at other grant possibilities for it.
The only other grant program that's out there that we're potentially aware of is the Pennsylvania Coalition on Crime and Delinquency, and the program specific to this category has not opened so far this year. We're not sure why. Normally it opens in the spring. But that's the only other one that this would kind of fit into. And when we had that initial call with PCCD months ago, they seemed very interested in that. This is almost like a pilot program. Like, we'd likely fund you because this is something we think we could roll out in other departments across the state, but the program hasn't actually opened.
Chief, do you have any reaction?
Sergeant Quinter's kind of been our person leading this whole thing. I've kind of taken the approach where I don't want to put this out and say you have to do this from the chief. I want them to want to do this. And Kevin he's a sergeant, but he's also the union president. I'm trying to get the union to buy into this as well and kind of get their people to want to do this and participate. I've heard good things about it. The guys that have been doing the things. I got to the breakfast, I got there late though, as I was doing some good things, but I think it's a positive that we're going forward. I've mentioned at various other law enforcement meetings that I've been involved in, the things that we're trying to do here. So I think that it might be something that we may be the test, but others may be doing this in the near future, especially as Michelle said, with PCCD doing this with the funding. We just have to get them to open it up for the year. But they see it as a need. They want agencies to be doing these types of things. So
It would seem like if you don't want to run into a brick wall, the idea is to get as many of your teams into this. I kind of look at it as workouts. You're going to these workouts regularly, stick with them.
And I know what a lot of our guys are doing right now is they're meeting every Wednesday. Thursday at Happy Hollow at 6 a.m. And you might hear them or see them running around. They're doing all kinds of different types of workouts. They're running stairs and different types of calisthenics and things like that. You know, so that's something that because of this, they've decided to try to do as well, to help them physically. I remember when I was younger, I could work out hard, you get a good relief with that type of thing too, with stress and everything, so.
It would seem like if you get into a regimen of consistency on behalf of both teams, so to speak, you're likely to build up a real interest on the part of both departments.
Right.
If you keep adding other people that are coming in at a high dollar price, it sounds like you might sort of run out of gas. So you're almost better to be sure you've got your team working regularly. And the occasional person coming in as a guest lecturer is one thing, but to bring in too many people, which costs too much money in our grants, is just going to turn into this is becoming a really expensive project rather than a consistent one that you need to work on regularly. That's just my thoughts.
I think it's worthwhile noting the Notice Your Being, Notice Your Beat, which is one of the fall initiatives. That's twofold. I mean, it's not only to get the departments engaged in those activities, but it's also to get them out in public spaces and hopefully get the public to view them in a slightly different light. Kristi made the point to me when we had one of our first discussions about this many months ago. The average person does not know a police officer or a firefighter as a friend or an acquaintance. You are dealing with them on what is likely the worst day of your life. So whether people realize they somewhat have that unconscious bias or not, and it's not a bias in a bad way as, oh, you horrible firefighter. Like, yes, they're appreciative you came and helped me, but that memory is also tied to this devastating moment. And trying to change some of that perception as to, oh, I saw a group of emergency responders in the parklands and, they were having fun, or they were engaged with the community, or they were just acting and talking like, you know, any other regular person we see, it does start to change that perception. And along those lines, it's not specifically part of the wellness program, but the ARL Dog Ambassador program, we found out last week the ARL, you may have seen this in the news, is at full capacity for large dogs. They cannot take any strays or voluntary surrenders. So I reached out to Ashley Mulkusky, their executive director, and asked, is it worth doing another round of the Dog Ambassador program, especially they now have a mobile unit that they can bring the dogs here. So this afternoon at, I believe it's 2 o'clock, they're gonna be at the fire station, and willingly, both departments had multiple members that are like, yeah, I wanna do it. So Channel 69 will also actually be there. They wanted to do some coverage on the ARL being at capacity as well, but I'm like, it's great publicity for us and for the animals to hopefully find homes. So it's just another way, it's, you know, a feeling of well-being, I think, for those that actively want to do it. You know, hey, I'm helping a dog hopefully find a home, and I get to be their sponsor.
I think one aspect of this whole wellness program is, I guess I can speak from a little experience, having served 35 years in the fire department. You know, as you said, everyone calls us, they call the police when they need somebody the most, you know, and it's their bad time. But, you know, who's there when we need them, okay? And we take the approach that we're invincible. I mean, people call us, and we help them, but who helps us? And that has never been answered until now. So, you know, this, I think, is just a phenomenal program, because we are not invincible. Police, firefighters, everyone needs, you know, from time to time. So, I think this is just phenomenal.
My major concern is, my major thought on this is that the metrics. We gotta have, to me, in order to justify a program, this can't feel good, it's gotta
Serve a
really-
purpose.
Really be good, measured in some objective manner, and those results should be brought to our committee periodically to monitor. So, with that in mind, when are we expecting the first set of metrics?
September.
We're gonna introduce it in September.
Okay.
The
That's a
women,
good point.
by then, we will have introduced the concept of it, the why. And thank you for saying that, because we can share, we actually are required to do this.
Okay.
That's always been the goal, because we do want this to be sustainable and long-term. And I come from a place that feel good is great, but that never worked. I always needed to provide statistics.
Intuitively, it
Right.
seems to make sense, but to have some objective standards that justify it for the taxpayer.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thanks for all you're doing. Anything else?
Has there been any conversation with Western Berks ambulance about this?
Tony knows about it, and we put them in touch. He's
Good question, good question. Anything else on the wellness program?
Just with my added responsibilities, kind of taking a little bit of a step back, sought somebody from our department to represent the fire department on the wellness committee. So Captain Adam Seitz has agreed to step into that role. And I think it'll be more effective coming from peer to peer at that level than like Chief Phillips had said about administratively saying, I want you to do this. Creating a little bit more buy-in, a little less barriers. So I'm happy to introduce Adam here to the committee.
Welcome, Adam.
Thank you.
Adam, do you have anything you'd like to add about your experience so far?
I have very limited experience with Kristi. I was off for a little while with an injury, but so I reached out to our members already to hear their feedback on what they felt, so I can share that with Kristi in an email, see how they feel about how it's going and the requests that they have moving forward. But like Chief said before, I think more candid coming to me than go to the supervisor, and feel a little bit more open with the peer and stuff like that. So I may have some different feedback than previously been shared already, but.
And that's the culture.
Right.
We're starting to establish it, and when we start letting, do you guys do that?
just have one other question. With the type of exercise, generically, that I'm thinking of, that you're doing, it's kind of outside the box stuff for guys that are used to running, boxing, fighting, football, track and field, that kind of stuff, where they're staying in shape to do what they do. What you're doing is getting them in mental shape to do what they do, and to react properly. Is that a challenge that you have to overcome? Because it seems like if I had to get up and go for a run versus go for a yoga class, I'll run. So to get the guys to go to a yoga class and to run, it sounds like now we're getting more things to do, and there's more things you can do and should do, but there's only so many hours in the day. So there's sort of a trade-off there from being macho and strong and fast and quick on your feet, and having what you're teaching them from these programs.
Yes, just for perspective, I was an ultra runner, so I ran 50 miles in one day. I did that. And then my body broke. Just, you can't waste it. My body broke. I hated yoga. I absolutely hated yoga for a very long time. It helped my body. I hated being still. I ran in the woods because it was trauma running. My eyes were always going. They're always going. My brain was always going. Because if you don't, you fall down. Bad things happen. Going for a walk. Most notice poison ivy in a tree before they even notice what kind of tree it is. Because that's where the brain goes. So yes, we're focusing on main pain points that first responders, hips, backs, right? Things, rotator cuffs, things that always happen, stress related, cortisol levels, heart attacks. That's what, so I'm sneaking in yoga. There has never been a class where we're doing sun salutations, anything like that. That's why there's a woman whose husband was a Navy SEAL, and she does jujitsu. Jiu-jitsu is partially because a lot of police officers resonate with jiu-jitsu. What do we call it? Because they're all different names so that it resonates. Tactical yoga, that's what that is. Resiliency, that's a 26 and 2. That's for spine health. That's for hips and backs. So we're not calling them these things. Actually, they've been incredibly helpful with what names resonate. And the whole thing, we're introducing new things, but we're really not. It's consistent messaging. It is absolutely helping with resiliency, and it will be a consistent. We have to switch it up because they're going to get real bored. Being in the beats, they have to walk in the parklands. That's part of their job. So we like to teach them how to be more mindful. Working with Eureka, we're going to hide little rocks ahead of time just to see if they notice what they notice. No harm, no foul, but start noticing other things, because it would be amazing if they could go to their kids' game and sit in the bleachers and not always have to be scanning the whole arena for something else. It would be amazing if they could take off their bulletproof vest when they're standing in front of me and not still stand like this with nothing there. But that's what they do. And that actually constricts your heart. That actually constricts muscle things. So just to teach them to stand like this again and feel comfortable in their own bodies. That's what we're doing. I mean, it's hard to put it in bullet points. It evolves. It evolves with the humans that are there. We go in with a plan, like anything, and then you're like, nope, that didn't quite work out how we thought. And that's why I'm working with women that, they're not new. They all have side gigs, and they're really freaking smart. And we all landed on yoga for a reason, not because we want to be yoga teachers. It has all saved our bodies, our minds, our souls in some which way, and that's what Michelle was saying. We're sharing. I mean, these women now, I am so conscious of a budget, and I am begging, making deals, borrowing, like any which way to keep that budget down. But if this were real, you would have blown through your budget already. So we're very conscious of that. We're very conscious of writing grants consistently, collaboratively, behind the scenes to keep this initiative going. And that's why we do have metrics, because we do have to answer to people beyond this table.
Yoga is also quite difficult.
Yes.
It's
And
really
it's-
freaking hard.
yeah,
I
it's-
challenge
it's-
you any
It is hard, it
Thank
is
you.
strength training, it is balance, it is
Stillness, sitting in the
Yeah.
uncomfortableness. As
Yeah,
an ultra
yoga's-
runner myself, yoga
Never
is,
run a 10
yoga
miles.
is-
Guess what I'm gonna do?
yoga is what taught me to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah.
there are a lot of good aspects from
Yes.
yoga.
Thank you. And then when you do, and part of that is, you're super uncomfortable in a position in yin, yoga, stillness. It's also helping your muscles release everything out, but you are so mentally uncomfortable that you wanna come out swinging and kicking. I mean, truly, it is not for the mere mortal, and that's why we're not leading with it. Because they have to get to know Crystal, but Crystal's also in military. She's also experienced very traumatic things. And then she's parlayed that into her practice, so that's why. None of us like burn incense in the corner. Maybe we do, because it smells good, but it's not where we do. Like, we've all been through it, and a fraction of what they've been through every day. So that's the yoga. We just don't know what else to call it. I hope that answers the question.
Nothing else? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Helps us understand.
You're welcome, anytime.
Thank you.
Really?
Next item is the executive session of the any matters. Well, okay. Please excuse everybody.
It's a small world in Berks County.